a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. And it could be an early warning signal to the FDIC and the primary regulators when these things happen. And there may be some other prices. This is similar to what Jay was saying in the market, that you can tell whether people understand who's going to be protected, who isn't going to be protected. It would be, I think, an interesting study to look at the evolution of market prices in a situation like March of 2020, for example, and see whether people understood what might happen.
Should be accessible when people need to know, but I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
I completely agree with that. I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets. They just assume they're going to pay my claim, right? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do. That we want them to have full faith and confidence in the banking system. They know the FDIC insurance is there. They know it works. They put their money in. They're going to get their money out. So there's a select crowd of people that are in the institutional side. And if they want to understand this, they're going to find a way to understand this. There's a bunch of law firms represented in this room. There's a bunch of people that charge them by the hour a lot of money to explain this all to them. And it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And they all have huge staffs. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out. And
Welcome to the BankX Boardroom. This is the first episode. We have renamed it to BankX Boardroom basically because of that video you just watched. They talk about how you can be bailed in, certainly CBDCs, where they can monitor, track, and control and take your money, as an example, if you do not spend it the way you like or when they like. So I thought, let's rename it so that this is a place where, as we build this parallel system, that we could come and talk about what's happening in the legacy financial system as we build this parallel system with BankX. Marketing, updates, everything about BankX will be the BankX Boardroom. So this first episode, I wanted to go into a deep dive of BankX in a new and updated masterclass. So from this, we took information from all the private masterclasses and the previous masterclass. So this is going to be very detailed information for people that want to know exactly how the BankX system works. So let's get into that. This is the BankX Masterclass. You are going to become an expert in BankX, learn how to create the passive income you like, because what we've done with BankX has never been done with a stablecoin or with cryptocurrency in general. So with BankX, you own the collateral, you create the currency, you earn interest, you lock up BankX to earn even more rewards. There's an NFT that boosts your rewards in the system and pays stablecoin at certain TVL milestones. And there are other ways that we'll talk about how you earn within the BankX system. So this will be quite detailed. So we will revisit certain areas of the system as you learn pieces of it, and then we'll layer on top of that. If you're new to crypto or BankX, there's a couple of terms like stablecoin, which is a cryptocurrency meant to track the value of a certain asset, usually like the US dollar. Minting is the act of creating a currency on the blockchain. And the term peg means what is the stablecoin meant to track the value of. As I always say with the stablecoin space within cryptocurrency, it is the key to mass adoption, is why one of the reasons why BankX was created. When I look at the time that myself and the team have involved in BankX, it's quite extensive. I think myself alone is north of 5,000 hours in the past 3 years in developing the idea, the R&D, and then just the execution of BankX. And that doesn't include the team we have. I spent about a week to prepare this updated masterclass, and it came from the previous masterclass that we did. We did private masterclass sessions with the community, and then all the questions that we had from different community members in all those different sessions. So in the past 3 years, we have done obviously the R&D, the development, the design. We did a security audit, an economic audit, and then several white hat hacker programs. So now we are deployed on Ethereum, Binance, Arbitrum, Polygon, Optimism, Avalanche Phantom, soon to be Pulse Chain, and then other chains that BankX will be deployed on shortly. So when I think of all of this effort that we put in, I like to really get into why BankX was created, because otherwise this is really just software. So what I'd like to do in that situation is to read the Currency Creators Manifesto, which is really this reason why we have worked so hard on the BankX system. So the Currency Creators Manifesto: our world faces an urgent crisis of currency manipulation, theft, and inflation. Under the current system, currency is controlled by and benefits elite families, governments, and large banking institutions. We believe currency should be minted by and benefit the individual, not the establishment. It is time to take back control of and the freedom that money can provide. BankX is rebuilding the legacy banking system from the ground up by providing you with the capability to create currency and be in complete control of wealth creation with a concept we call individual created digital currency, or ICDC. You own the collateral, you mint currency, you earn interest, you leverage without the risk of liquidation, you lock up your currency for even more returns. All of this is done with complete autonomy and decentralization. BankX has built a stablecoin for individual freedom. BankX is the antidote for the malevolent financial system, bringing in a new future of freedom where you are in complete control with no middlemen, bank, or central bank between you and your finances. This capability to create currency and be in complete control of wealth creation will be in the hands of every individual that uses BankX. By 2030, we will rid the world of the corrupt, tyrannical, and incompetent banking system, replacing it with a system where billions of people have complete freedom of their financial future. Everyone will be given ultimate freedom to use their assets to create currency, earn interest, and multiply returns to accomplish their individual goals. The mission of BankX is to be the first to mint 1 trillion in stablecoin. We will bring about this transformation by attracting people that believe what we believe. We will partner with other blockchain protocols and build decentralized applications that drive even more usage. Finally, we will deploy a private network that is never connected to the internet to communicate between counterparties, that allows for blockchain to blockchain interoperability and stores private keys in cryptocurrency wallets. Our ecosystem, network, and platform has never been seen in the market and provides us with a long-term sustainable competitive advantage. We value individual freedom. We believe in financial autonomy. We are anti-establishment. We envision a future of self-empowerment. So I spent a lot of time thinking through this manifesto to help to attract people to the BankX cause. And one of the terms that we talk about in the manifesto is this idea of an individual created digital currency. So with all the talk of CBDCs, I want to kind of distinguish between the difference between what BankX has created and the central bank digital currencies. So when you look at a CBDC, it's not a cryptocurrency. It's very centralized, permission, it's private and closed source. They want to dictate all of the rules and policy and change those as they see fit. There is no value behind it. It's just sort of printed out of thin air, much like our current fiat system. They track and monitor you. They could force you to spend money that you're not ready to spend yet. If you don't fit into a specific political cause, they could take your money or shut your money off. And it profits few individuals and middlemen and banks. And with what we've seen with this endless money printing, it will lose value over time, just like fiat has. And it's used to control people and companies and eventually countries. So with a ICDC or an individual created digital currency, it's just you and the blockchain. It's you do what you like when you want. There's decentralized collateral with complete freedom, exact opposite of a CDBC. We are a much better inflationary hedge because our stablecoin tracks the price of 1 gram of silver. So I've seen on Twitter that people say, well, where does BankX store the silver? There is no physical silver backing the XSD stablecoin. It's backed by other cryptocurrencies, specifically the BankX token and the native blockchain token. So we track the price of 1 gram of silver, but are crypto backed as far as the collateral. There is no middleman. As I said, it's just you and the blockchain. And we have a monetary policy that is very responsible in that we're not just endlessly creating currency like the central bank does, where they print it out and give it out to their political colleagues and people that could benefit them. And in this system, you earn by creating the currency, which is very unique to BankX and never been done in the stablecoin or cryptocurrency market. So if you are new to BankX, these 3 socials are really where most of our activity is. Telegram at bankx.io. Twitter is also at bankx.io, and you can go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@bankx.io. So make sure you join to keep up with the progress of BankX and to ask any questions. The stablecoin market is around 175 billion, obviously fluctuates. With the Bank of America crypto report, this was some time ago, but they expected soon that the stablecoin market would be $2 trillion. And so this, I think, is an important sort of milestone for the stablecoin market, because I think that's what we'll start to see the system tipping, where we see this mass adoption within stablecoins and cryptocurrency. There are lots of use cases for stablecoins, certainly not all listed here. Trading pairs, cross-border, B2B, and e-commerce payments. I really like decentralized apps that would exclusively use the XSD stablecoin from BankX. It is a neutral position for trading in crypto. I think they said 75% of trades in crypto involve a stablecoin, whether it's, I think that's with either the trading pair or just moving in and out of any other cryptocurrency that a stablecoin is involved. Other centralized exchanges use it as settlements, and this new area where you can lock up stablecoin for certain port of interest or returns. So the bold areas is where I think potentially that BankX would have most of its uses. But in the stablecoin market, there's lots of problems. So we've seen where other stablecoins or other projects can be shut down because they're not decentralized. They're not trustless, so there's some person or entity that is in control of the contracts or of the collateral backing it. The business model is where they're in custody of the assets backing this stablecoin, so they're using that to generate money for themselves. And then the design of the system, I'm a fan of MakerDAO, but their design is where if the price of the collateral backing it drops, your position can be liquidated or your stablecoin can be liquidated. And then the case of things like Terra Luna, where it lost its peg and it never recovered. And then I think one of the major problems within stablecoins is this whole idea of value preservation, where because they're pegged to the US dollar, they're printing this out of oblivion, and you're really losing money in inflation. So I don't know that I really necessarily buy the inflation numbers that the government is reporting. We were sort of questioned, like, should you peg the price of 1 gram of silver? But since we started this project, the price of 1 gram of silver was 77 cents, and it's now well north of $1. So we think that really proves the effect of money printing on the fiat dollar system and any stablecoin that's pegged to the price of $1. The advantages to XSD, I touched on those a bit, is it's the first to pay you interest for minting a stablecoin. We are crypto backed, but we track the price of 1 gram of silver, which is proven to be a much better inflationary hedge. And we've seen that here recently. Your collateral cannot be liquidated. No one controls the collateral. That's all on the blockchain. And we, as a entire BankX system, own the liquidity for trading. We use all proven techniques to maintain the peg. There's never any transaction fees in the system. At the end state of the system, it will be fully decentralized. That's including even the front end web app and how you access the system. And we will release a very unique thing called looping without liquidation. And to touch on that a bit, looping without liquidation is you have collateral that mints the XSD stablecoin that's earning interest. Now you take that stablecoin and buy more collateral to mint more stablecoin earning even more interest. So you can loop through that process as many times as you like. And we'll talk specifically about how that works and some of the things that can slow that down and other areas around that capability. The stablecoin XSD from BankX, we took our inspiration from several protocols for the entire system. We're mostly like Frax, where we have this moving collateral percentage between. So when you mint the XSD stablecoin, it is a combination of the native blockchain token and the BankX token, which is a utility token, and that ratio changes. So the percentage of the native blockchain token used to mint XSD changes, whether that's 0% to 100%. And then like Frax, we have no liquidation of the collateral should that native blockchain token drop in value. One of the other protocols was Hex, which has a proven economic principle where you can inflate a currency to pay people who lock up that token. And they've shown that to have a net deflationary effect. So we took that economic principle to a stable coin, which we'll talk specifically about that. We do use one of the price stabilization mechanisms from Terra Luna where you can burn one token to mint the other. But we've innovated on that, which I'll talk specifically about also how that works and how that helps to maintain the peg. One other protocol that was inspirational to the creation of BankX was Olympus DAO, at this idea that a protocol owns its own liquidity and how they incentivize people to add to that liquidity. So minting with BankX, or minting the BankX Silver Dollar. So that's where an acronym XSD comes from, BankX Silver Dollar. When you mint it, you earn interest effortlessly. And there's two tokens and then the native blockchain token involved. You combine the native blockchain token with the BankX token to create the XSD stablecoin, and that XSD stablecoin is earning interest in the form of more BankX tokens. And we make everything very easy within the BankX system in our user interface. So this shows you how you would mint. You can enter the amount of XSD. It tells you everything about that, what your minting interest rate is, what your previous mint information is. Specifically, I want to draw your attention to the alert here, or in the UI, where it talks about we always mint and redeem the XSD stablecoin at the price of 1 gram of silver. So if the price of XSD is below the peg, this screen will actually be turned off or grayed out. And so you're much better in this situation where you can see XSD below the peg. You would want to go buy the XSD stablecoin and then wait for it to get to the peg rather than minting it. Because the idea is that if it's below the peg, there's too much supply, so the system won't allow you to mint more supply. It wants you to either buy the stablecoin or even redeem it. And we'll talk more about some of those price stabilization mechanisms. As we go through this, you're going to see how everything is economically tied to other parts of the system and how it moves and provides incentives. A lot of it, I think, is very clever, with ideas that we got from other protocols and then innovated further onto that. We also have a way to lock up BankX tokens to earn even more BankX tokens in that same economic principle that we've learned and has been proven by in the market by Hex. That idea that you can inflate a currency to pay for the behavior of locking up that currency. So in the Hex example, they inflate their currency 3.69% to pay those people who lock up the BankX token. And they've shown that the staking rate is 9.8% per year. So this idea that the inflation rate never catches the lockup rate of the token supply, and it has this effect called net deflationary, which I think is one of the more interesting things that have been proven with that project and economically within a token supply. And that is also very easy to do. Within the system, you just go to the screen token lockup rewards. You enter your amount of BankX tokens that you'd like to lock up and the number of days. We're going to talk more about the NFT, but you can also lock up NFTs that you own and purchase from BankX that boost your rewards in the token lockup. So you'll see here, it shows you when you can claim and then information around previous lockups in the system. That's all very, very self-explanatory and easy to use within the system. So generally, what can you do with the BankX system, this fully decentralized, trustless stablecoin that pays you interest? You can profit from the system by helping the system stabilize the price of XSD. And by stabilize, I mean to keep it at the peg of the price of 1 gram of silver. You can mint the XSD stablecoin and earn interest in the form of more BankX tokens. You can lock up BankX to earn more BankX. If you have the NFT or want to boost your rewards in the token lockup rewards, you can do that also. The BankX NFT also pays you XSD stablecoin at certain milestones of the system on each chain. And then we provide rewards for selling liquidity into one of our 2 liquidity pools or into the collateral pool when that's in deficit. So we'll talk specifically about iPool, which is that integrated protocol-owned liquidity system. And then the innovation onto the Terra Luna Mint Burn capability, we will unlock this feature as the system matures, called arbitrage, where we use our 2 pools where you can gain or earn in the system by arbitraging between the 2 pools and helping to stabilize the price of XSD at the price of 1 gram of silver. And then we talked a bit about looping without liquidation, which will be the last feature that we turn on within the system. So minting earns interest. I want to talk a bit about how that works. I've mentioned how we have 2 tokens within the BankX system. The BankX utility token is used to pay out rewards. It is used in the token lockup exclusively, so you earn more BankX for locking up BankX. And then it's used as partial collateral to create the XSD stablecoin, which is, as we know, pegged to the price of 1 gram of silver. So minting is also very easy. You see, we spent a lot of time on this web app and user interface because there's so much going on in the background, but we try to present the only things that you need to see on the front end. From this, I wanted to you just enter your amount of XSD you'd like to mint. It tells you what you need, what the interest rate you'll earn, and all of that. So specifically, when I talked about it's a combination of the native blockchain token and the BankX token, that is indicated here with the collateral ratio. So when it says 100%, it means that it takes 100% of the native blockchain token, like ETH, BNB, to mint the XSD stablecoin. And the collateral ratio moves based on the price of the XSD stablecoin. So as this price of XSD goes above the peg, the collateral ratio goes down, meaning that the amount that it goes down, that difference between 100% is what you need in BankX. So if this were to move down to 90%, then 10% of the value of the XSD stablecoin you're minting would need to be done with BankX. So 10% BankX, 90% native blockchain token in that example. And so what we do is the amount of interest that you earn for minting the stablecoin is 1/2 to the value of the collateral ratio, meaning that as the price of XSD is above the peg, the collateral ratio is slowly going down and the interest rate is going up. So the idea economically, if we think about that, is XSD is above the peg, so it's liked in the market, so the collateral ratio is going down. BankX token holders are now rewarded because there's more to lock up, required to lock up to mint the stablecoin, so that removes it out of the supply. And then because it's above the peg, we want to incentivize more people to mint, so we increase the interest rate. So this is one of the examples of how everything within the system is tied together and aligns economically with what the system needs and what we're striving to do within the system to incentivize the community to do what the system needs, as an example. So I sort of went through this in the UI about the collateral ratio for minting and redeeming. So that whole idea that collateral ratio is the amount of native blockchain token needed to mint the XSD stablecoin, as we talked about, and that moves based on the XSD price. So when the XSD price is above the peg, the collateral ratio is going to step down. When the price of the XSD stablecoin is below the peg, that ratio is going to step up. So if we look at that, when it is below the peg, we want less XSD in supply. So we step it up where it requires more native blockchain token, making it more difficult to mint the stablecoin. When it's above the peg, it's lowering the amount of native blockchain token to mint the stablecoin, which would be easier. So that would help to increase the supply of the XSD stablecoin, helping that to come down to the peg. So there's really three types of minting and redeeming, but it all falls in that sort of a definition of how much native blockchain token do you need? Is it 0% or is it 100%? So when it's 100%, we call that one-to-one. So one-to-one value of the native blockchain token to mint the XSD stablecoin. And then fractional is some percentage of BankX and some percentage of, say, Ethereum or Binance or whatever other native blockchain token. Both tokens are needed in that state of the system. And then sort of the euphoria of BankX would be there's so much demand for XSD. It's been above the peg and it's continued to step down the collateral ratio where it's so viewed as sort of confident in the system that XSD has been above the peg. And now we have a collateral ratio of 0, meaning that it's 100% BankX to mint the XSD stablecoin. So that would obviously help to pull BankX out of the supply, because you need, if you're minting $1,000 worth of XSD, you need $1,000 worth of BankX. And so in that sort of situation, the minting interest rate would be 50% at that point, because it's always 1/2 of the collateral rate, as I've talked about. So we'll use as an example, we'll just look at the fractional way to mint the XSD stablecoin. So this, let's say we're on the Ethereum blockchain and it's fractional. In this scenario, it's 60% ETH and 40% BankX. 100% of that value would mint 100% value of the XSD stablecoin. And from there, you would earn interest in the form of more BankX tokens the entire time that the XSD that you minted is in circulation. Because it follows this stablecoin design, follows the same economic principle that we've learned from protocols like Hex, where when you mint the XSD stablecoin in that fractional example, is because it's requiring the BankX token as part of the partial collateral to mint the XSD stablecoin, you are locking up, just like you are Ethereum, you are locking up the BankX token to get the XSD stablecoin in circulation to earn interest. So that effectively becomes a staking event or a lockup event in the BankX system. And the idea is that the interest that we pay for that behavior will never catch up to the amount of lockup tokens that are used to mint the XSD stablecoin. And so instead of just having XSD where anyone can just go to the collateral pool and redeem their collateral, we ran into this issue where the system could get hacked. So when you mint the stablecoin, we actually, on the blockchain, we store the information about your minting event. And it took us a couple months to come up with the most effective way to do this mathematically. And it was really to make the system as efficient as possible with these mathematical equations that would minimize the data storage and the gas fees. So we store for each minting event 4 pieces of information. Sorry, a lot of talking, had to rehydrate there. So the 4 pieces of information that we store per wallet is your total minted amount of XSD, the weighted average interest rate. So the interest rate is changing depending on what's going on in the system, with a minimum of 5.28%, and then it goes up from there. What is your accrued interest? And then what is the date of your last mint or redemption? And this helps to, or this does entirely prevent what we call minting Sybil attacks. So if we were to just allow anyone to go to the collateral pool, then they could game the system to drain out BankX tokens from BankX. So to show exactly what I mean in this minting Sybil attack, if you have basically the minter could create 2 wallets where he, with wallet 1, mints XSD with the collateral, and now he's earning interest in wallet 1 in the form of BankX tokens. Then he takes XSD over to wallet 2, and then he uses XSD to redeem collateral. So we have no way in the system to know that the interest earning event has ended. So because he's moved it to this new wallet, he redeems the collateral, then moves the collateral back to wallet 1, right? So then he mints more, earning even more interest, and he just keeps doing this process. At the end of it, he gets a bunch of BankX and then can sell that in our liquidity pool. So the idea of tracking this on the blockchain prevents minting Sybil attacks, and so that's the reason why that is done, and an innovation within the BankX system. One of the many innovations that we've done with this protocol. Another first for the cryptocurrency community is the first stablecoin NFT that pays you and does some unique things within the BankX system. So each NFT will pay 1,000 XSD when the total value locked on that specific chain reaches 100 million, and thereafter it's 200 XSD for every 100 million of TVL in the stablecoin. And then each NFT increases the token lockup by 10%. And so for each lockup, the maximum NFTs that you can lock per lockup is 5. And each of the NFTs does boost your rewards by 10% in the token lockup. So we also have a referral program where when you refer someone that buys the NFT, you're paid 10% of that purchase price in the native blockchain token, and that's paid immediately at the time of purchase, and it's done by the smart contract. So you'll see those referrals, the commissions for those right away. So this is the NFT image, and there's 5,000, and for each one there's 1,250. This is our NFT badge, and you can see we have a silver bar and sort of the progression of sort of silver turning into XSD. On the NFT purchase page, you'll see the meaning behind the NFT. So I wanted to read that to you. It's not that long. The images depict the minting process and the transformation BankX is bringing to legacy banking. We see an unknown minter bring value to the system, a silver bar, since the stablecoin is pegged to the price of 1 gram of silver. This value is transformed into an unstoppable stablecoin. In the final image, the XSD stablecoin has an electrifying force. When people use BankX and see what it can do for them, it will spread everywhere. So we spent a lot of time in the design and the meaning that we wanted to give off with this NFT collection within BankX. So again, it boosts your rewards in the token lockup rewards, and it pays stablecoin as the system grows. And you're also get private membership to a Telegram and Discord group. And so that is the BankX NFT called Currency Creators. All right. Next, we'll show you the NFT screen, where it's actually very simple. If you just, whatever chain you're on, you can just enter the amount of NFTs you'd like to purchase. It'll give you the link there to join. You can get your referral link here. And then as the system's growing, you're going to see how much XSD each NFT is due. So you would just select your NFT once you connect your wallet. It'll tell you how much XSD you're due and how much you've already claimed. So it tracks all that on the blockchain. So that's how to buy the NFT. And then in the token lockup rewards, you'll see where you can also add that to your token lockup. So it would lock up your NFT and BankX, boosting those rewards by 10% per NFT that you stake with your BankX tokens and the token lockup rewards. Which leads me to the locking up earns more. So this was inspired by Hex, where, as we've talked about, they inflate their currency 3.69% to pay people to lock up that token. And they were able to show that the average yearly lockup was 9.8%. So it's this net deflationary effect within that token economy, because you're inflating by less than what the lockup is per year. And on their website, they talk about this because of the restriction of the supply, that it increased the price of their token by 38% per year with an average lockup of 6 years. But what we do in BankX is we increase that to 5.28%. So there's musical notes called the solfeggio music notes, and 5.528 is the center frequency who I discovered just through like going through a YouTube rat hole of kind of like learning things, where that is also sort of paired with the same frequency as the color green in nature. And so green, nature, creation, we're currency creators. That's why I chose the 5.28%. So it wasn't just some random number that I chose out for that inflation rate for the token lockup rewards, and also for the beginning minting interest rate when you mint the XSD stablecoin. Leveraging after you go through XSD or minting it and looping, when that's available, you can then buy BankX and lock up those BankX tokens to earn even more BankX tokens. And I've repeatedly touched on this because I think it's a very important economic principle that we've brought to a stablecoin, because no one has ever done this before. Because this also decentralizes the interest that you earn for the collateral that is locked up on the blockchain. So there's been protocols where they take control of your collateral and they've sort of not been responsible. So not only does this use an economic principle that has worked with other protocols to pay you interest, but it's completely decentralized. So the BankX system manages all of this. And it's this idea, either in the stablecoin or token lockups or just in general within the system, that BankX is the inflation that's caused to create certain behaviors in the system never catches up to the amount of tokens that are locked up in the system. And what we call this is AND, or always net deflationary, meaning that the system always strives to be net deflationary, and it does certain economic levers to create behavior that keeps this lockup rate more than the inflation rate. And we'll talk specifically about those as we continue on. This is a lot of information. And so I just want to, make sure that people know this is a very detailed video that you can watch to really learn everything about BankX. And so back to the token lockup rewards, as I mentioned, it's 5.28% interest rate. One of the things that we do as an economic lever that I just talked about is in the token lockup rewards, the longer that you stake, you get a bonus of 20% in your rewards called longer pays better. If the system identifies that it is in an inflationary state, meaning that the inflation is higher than the lockup rate of the BankX token, then what it will do is increase the longer pays better by 5%. And then after some time, if it's still not to a net deflationary state, it'll increase, and it keeps going to 40%. And then once it gets to a net deflationary state, this returns back to 20%. Very similar to Hex, we have bigger pays better, up to a 10% bonus in the exact same way that hexes that does that. And then bringing in that innovation of NFT owners can now boost their rewards and token lockup by staking their NFT. And also don't forget that the NFT pays XSD stablecoin as TVL milestones are reached with the stablecoin TVL. Other things about token lockup rewards is you have to serve at least half of your lockup time with early withdrawal penalty. There is a late unlock penalty. So once your staking time has ended, you have a 14-day grace period to claim. Otherwise, there is a 1% penalty per week until eventually 100 weeks. Then there would be no balance left within your lockup. And then there's no advantage to unlocking and then relocking up your tokens. You're better off just leaving them in. So that is token lockup rewards, where we get to the user interface at BankX for token lockup rewards. So we, again, you enter BankX tokens and the number of days. And if you have NFTs, because there's no NFTs here, you would just click on that. You could purchase an NFT and include that in. And you would claim your tokens when your time is up. So very easy web app user interface there. So next is the idea of how you can earn through helping the system to keep XSD at the peg of 1 gram of silver, and you can profit by helping the system do that. So the XSD stablecoin uses market forces and software rules to maintain the peg. So once you understand that and see that in the system, when XSD is above the peg, it's better that you sell it, and that would help drive the price down to the price of 1 gram of silver. Then you could rebuy back in, and so that difference would be profit for you, and then helping the system get the price of XSD back down to the peg. And then the reverse would happen when it's below the peg. You'd want to buy it, and then you can do what you like once it gets back to peg. The second of the fourth way that XSD uses to keep the peg is this idea of burning one token to mint the other. So this is inspired by Terra Luna, which works most of the time. As we know, that protocol failed, but we've innovated on that using just sort of that concept. Generally, from a Terra Luna perspective, if the price of XSD is above the peg, you're burning BankX for XSD at the price XSD should be. So you're effectively transforming BankX into XSD at the price of 1 gram of silver. Then you can sell that XSD for a higher price, increasing the supply, selling it, and then driving the price back down. And then the reverse would happen. So when the price is below the peg, there's too much supply. So you would be burning XSD for the price of 1 gram of silver to get that same value in BankX. But what we do, and we'll talk specifically, is we use our two pools with this concept to help stabilize the price of XSD at the price of 1 gram of silver. And then this third way to keep XSD at the peg is been proven by MakerDAO, but this idea that the minting and redeeming would help control the supply to keep the price at the peg. So if the price of XSD is above the peg, you'd want to mint it, because you can create something for less than the market is paying, right? So you would create XSD at, say, $1, and XSD is at $1.20. So you could create it for $1, sell it for $1.20. And then the reverse happens when it's below the peg, which redeeming is turning in the XSD stablecoin and getting your collateral back plus any accrued interest while you kept that in circulation. So that removes it from the supply, and you're converting XSD for the price of 1 gram of silver and getting that collateral back at that value. So these are proven techniques that all help to get the price of a stable coin to its peg. And then specifically to Frax and to BankX is this idea that we talked about of a moving collateral ratio of how much native blockchain token and BankX token is needed to mint the stablecoin. And that adjusts based on the price, as we've talked about, of the price of the XSD stablecoin. So I'm going to exaggerate this example just to make the point, right? So let's say XSD is at $1.50. The price of 1 gram of silver and the peg price of XSD should be $1. And the current minting collateral ratio is 90% Ethereum, 10% BankX. So we have a above the peg price of XSD situation. And so we need more XSD in the market, and the system will lower the amount needed of Ethereum to mint the XSD stablecoin, making it easier to mint, increasing the supply of XSD, and helping to bring the price back down to the peg. So that is all in that moving collateral ratio that we've been talking about. And as I mentioned, the minting interest rate is tied to collateral ratio, where 1/2 of the collateral ratio is the minting interest rate, or 5.28%, whichever is greater. And so the idea is that, as we talked about, as XSD is above the peg, the collateral ratio lowers. At the same time, the minting interest rate goes up. Above the peg, we need more XSD in the market. We need more supply to bring it down, and then the interest rate is going up to further incentivize that behavior. So all of these things are tied together. It's, I think, an incredible system using all things that we know work. So this idea that I talked about, where we've innovated on this technique that Terra Luna used to burn one token to mint the other, what we do is we use that same technique, but then we automate the process to arbitrage between our two liquidity pools. So the BankX liquidity pool and the XSD liquidity pool. The end result of it is that you will get more of the token you started with. And so I'm going to show you exactly how that works with some very simple math, right? So you have the BankX pool and the XSD pool, and we'll just say we're on Ethereum. So right now the silver price is $1. XSD is at 80. And BankX price, let's say, is 10 cents, and XSD is below the peg. So below the peg, we have too much supply. We want to pull supply out. So in this situation, in the user interface and the web app, you would burn XSD to mint BankX at the price of 1 gram of silver. Then, so you begin with 1 XSD. You would burn that XSD at $1, which is the silver peg price in this example, for 10 BankX. Then the system, through the UI, will sell that BankX in the BankX pool for $1 of Ethereum. Now that you have that $1 in Ethereum, that you can go and buy in the XSD pool, now you have 1.25 XSD. And so that helps to bring down the price of, or I should say, it helps to keep XSD at the peg, and then you get more of whatever token you started with. So the other way through this, you would get more BankX in the example, right? So if it's above the peg, you would burn BankX for XSD and get more BankX. When it's below the peg, you would burn XSD for BankX through our whole system, which is all sort of guided through the arbitrage screen, and then you would get more XSD in this example. So we basically, instead of just letting you burn one token to mint the other and then hope you actually do what we want you to do, this system does the entire process so that we know the burning of one token to mint the other is actually used to maintain the peg of XSD. The other thing that we do in the system when we turn it on is we don't allow overburning or over minting, taking the price of XSD, sort of whipsawing back and forth. So it would be more of a kind of a slow move back to the peg, whether it's above or below. And it's sort of all in this multi-step operation, arbitraging between our two liquidity pools. And the result, as I mentioned, is you get more of whatever token you started with, and you help the system to keep XSD at the peg. So reviewing all of the price stabilization techniques, because I don't know of another stablecoin protocol that has all of these. So buy below, sell above. mint above, redeem below, and then our unique way of expanding and innovating on the Terra Luna burn mint capability, where it actually arbitrages between our two pools, and then that moving collateral percentage inspired by Frax, and then we tie the minting interest rate to that to provide economic incentives to mint more in that example. So liquidity pool rewards, BankX owns and control. So when I say BankX, that's the system of contracts on the blockchain where no one has control of the liquidity pools. It's all monitored, governed, and controlled by the BankX system on the blockchain. And the inspiration was brought about by Olympus DAO, and then we basically forked. I wouldn't say fork. We started the beginning part was to use the code from Uniswap v2, and we've made sort of, I think, dramatic innovations on Uniswap v2 with what we do, and you'll see what I mean as we further discuss how all this works. So with our liquidity pools, we call them integrated protocol owned liquidity because they create autonomous and sustainable liquidity. What Olympus DAO taught us was that the protocol should own its liquidity rather than renting it, because someone could copy your project, offer them slightly more incentives to provide liquidity. So all the liquidity would get pulled from one project to another. And so it was, I think, a very important thing for protocols and systems in cryptocurrency to start to go that way. And that's why we designed it the way we did. In general, with the system, when we decentralize the front end, especially decentralizing the front end, will prevent what I call Uniswap, where they would delist you from the front end. So not only do you prevent people from taking their liquidity elsewhere because there's a better deal on a fork project, but because everything's sort of self-contained and at the end of the day, the system fully decentralized, you'll know you'll always have a front end and a way to trade BankX or XSD. So for selling liquidity, you get rewards in BankX and XSD. We'll talk specifically about that over a vesting schedule. So we have three pools, right? So we talked about two pools for trading. We have XSD paired against the native blockchain token, and we have BankX utility token paired against the native blockchain token. And then we have a collateral pool, which we'll talk about also. So we give the most incentive for selling liquidity into the XSD pool. And then when that's satisfied, the next one is the BankX pool. And then the third is the collateral pool. So when the system identifies that it's in a deficit and needs liquidity in the XSD pool, we pay the most in BankX for you to sell liquidity in. And that is whatever you sell into, you earn 9% in BankX tokens, and your principal is also paid in BankX tokens. And what we do, the sooner you sell in to the liquidity pool when there's a need, we shorten your vesting schedule and give you more XSD. And so an example would be if there was 300,000 in liquidity pool deficit in the XSD pool, the first third, or say the first 100,000, would have a 1 week vesting period and an additional 5% in XSD. And then the second third, or the second 200,000, would have a 2 week vesting period and 2% in XSD. And then the final 100,000 in this 300,000 example would just have a 3 week vesting period. So the system regularly calculates what is the market cap, and there's a percentage of that needs to be value in the liquidity pool. So those are constantly being evaluated by the system, and it will identify a need and then automatically turn on those rewards. As I mentioned, the BankX pool is the second priority, and so instead of 9%, you get 8% interest and principal paid in the BankX tokens, and then the vesting period and XSD boosted or additional rewards is offered in the same vesting schedule and breakdown. And so that is the integrated protocol owned liquidity pool system, where I pull the integrated protocol owned liquidity. where BankX controls this and monitors and manages everything on the blockchain. No one's involved in that. There's no transaction fees. There's no incentive to provide liquidity elsewhere. Certainly think people will put our tokens on other dexes, but the most rewards are provided to have this centralized, decentralized liquidity pool. When I was designing the system, I didn't see the purpose in having these pools everywhere when we could have a very deep pool within the system that was managed and controlled by all blockchain software. And this idea of integrated is the concept where the liquidity pool plays an important role in the monetary policy of both tokens, actually. So when we talk about IPOL and BankX inflation, so we talked about how we always strive for this always net deflationary state within the system, and we would, already economically through other principles that have been proven by other protocols that there's a lockup rate that never catches the inflation rate. And then should we ever surpass that, we do things like increasing the longer pays better and the token lockup rewards as an example. But what the system will do is, if it's still not enough, then it will burn a portion of the BankX tokens as it's sold into the liquidity pool until we get into a net deflationary state within the BankX token supply. So after someone has sold and captured the value for their BankX tokens, the percentage of those are burned out of the supply. So that's what we mean in the system. It has a very responsible monetary policy where it inflates to create certain behavior, and then it burns those out of the system when certain events happen. And always striving where we have that net deflationary sort of state within the BankX token supply. So I touched really on all this. And so examples of when BankX is minted or created in the system is there was a Genesis mint. We pay rewards in BankX when you sell to the liquidity pools, the collateral pools, which I just went over. We mint the other half of the trading pair. So when you sell that liquidity, we mint that same value in BankX. So basically, so it doesn't have price fluctuations in our liquidity pool. So we're basically, you come in and sell ETH as an example, we would mint and put the exact same value of BankX. So we're thickening the liquidity pool value without changing the price. We increase the longer pays better and token lockup reward, which I mentioned. That's one way where more BankX is created. And then the boosts that for in BankX when you lock up NFTs, so that's more BankX that you would get. And then BankX is created when you do that arbitrage situation, right? Where you're burning XSD when it's below the peg for BankX, right? So we have to create the BankX that way. And then BankX is burned out of the system by the liquidity pool, which we just talked about. And then the other way, when it's burning BankX for XSD when it's above the peg, right? So both of those work together with each other when it's in a net deflationary state. When it's not, it won't do that. And then when there is a surplus in the collateral pool, we're going to talk about this. You can use BankX to buy back the collateral. So whenever, like, say there's 110% of the value in Ethereum versus the amount of XSD in circulation from the collateral pool, that 10% you can buy using BankX or XSD, and then those are, when BankX is involved, if it's inflationary, it will burn those BankX tokens. So IPOL also plays a role in what we call non-minted XSD. So XSD is created by two ways. One, you lock up the native blockchain token or BankX and deposit that in the collateral pool, and that creates XSD. And there's another way, which is non-minted XSD. So there's a Genesis mint of XSD. We pay rewards in XSD that was created outside of putting collateral in the collateral pool. Same way we mint the other half of the trading pair when you sell liquidity in. And the rewards, as we hit certain TVL milestones for NFT owners, is paid with XSD. So again, each TVL milestone, there's a certain amount of XSD that is paid to each NFT owner. Then again, XSD is created when you're burning BankX for XSD when it's above the peg to create more XSD to help bring it down to the price of 1 gram of silver. Then again, this is burned out of the total supply of XSD. So you have a minted amount and you have a non-minted amount. So it will continue to burn these until all of the non-minted XSD is burned out of supply. So we don't burn minted XSD because that's represented by or backed by collateral in the collateral pool. So we burn those in the XSD pool whenever non-minted XSD exists in the supply. And that same arbitrage function where you're burning XSD for BankX when it's below the peg. And then you can also buy back excess collateral in the collateral pool using XSD, and that's also burned. What's interesting about this whole concept of non-minted XSD and minted XSD is we think that that's going to slow down a bank run should that ever happen. So before I talk about this, we're based on Frax, which the founder some time ago with his system determined and in an interview said that he thought it was mathematically impossible for his stablecoin to lose its peg. And so I think that's very interesting from a Frax perspective, especially since we based a lot of our system on that. And so when you look at sort of the non-minted XSD and the XSD that was created by minting it, we have, because of that idea that we first started off by tracking every mint event, and remember those 4 pieces of data that we store every time someone mints? So we know that every wallet that minted is the only ones that are allowed to go to the collateral pool to get that collateral to redeem their interest. Because non-minted XSD does not earn interest. So there's two types of XSD in our system. And so what happens is if people started to sort of come after the system trying to get out of their XSD, only the XSD minters could go to the collateral pool. Because if they're not on the system on the blockchain as someone that minted XSD, they would not be able to go to the collateral pool. They would have to go to the liquidity pool. Now, sort of in that dramatic example where everyone's just selling, then the price of XSD would go down. Now the XSD minters would be buying from the XSD liquidity pool and probably be under the peg, and then they could go, once they have XSD, to the collateral pool. So sort of my thought of this is, in the design, is that the liquidity pool stands in front of the collateral pool should there ever be a bank run. So it's kind of like that extra fail-safe on the Frax system that we've designed with this whole idea of XSD that's not minted through the collateral pool and minted XSD. So those makes the distinction between that. So very much like Frax, the XSD stablecoin never faces liquidation. And so remember we talked about the 2 liquidity pools, BankX versus the native blockchain token, and then the XSD pool where that's paired against the native blockchain token. And then there's a third pool that is separate and distinct that is never used for trading or anything. It's entirely used to back the minted XSD that is in supply. So what we do is say if the native blockchain token price drops and there's what we call a collateral pool deficit, we offer rewards in the form of BankX. Much like you selling into the liquidity pools, you can add collateral when the system's in need. So what we also do is that if the value of the collateral pool drops below what the minted XSD in supply value is, then we restrict that collateral redemption or until people have added to the system so that we're at 100% collateral pool value versus the minted XSD value that's in supply. And then that is a sort of a minting event of XSD to pay those rewards. And then on a collateral surplus side, you can use those tokens to buy the excess collateral, and you can use BankX or XSD to do that. And then those tokens are burned. So that's how Frax does it, so that there's no liquidation of your collateral. And we do the same thing within the BankX system for that. And very similar to the liquidity pool rewards, the collateral pool is the third in priority. So you got 9% for selling into XSD pool, 8% for selling into the BankX pool, and then the collateral pool, you earn 7% in interest and principal in the BankX pool, with that same breakdown of being dividing into thirds and being the first third, second third, and final third there. So in the web app and user interface, we automatically guide you to where the most rewards are. So you never have to say, well, does the XSD pool need rewards, or is it BankX, or what? The system will automatically default you to the best one that's available on each chain. You'll see that our UI, where we continue to make enhancements to think about the user so that you don't have to put a lot of thought in what to do. So first-time users, if you're coming to BankX, I would keep it simple and buying and selling XSD. You can mint XSD to earn interest in the form of more BankX tokens. You can lock up those tokens, BankX tokens, to earn even more. You can boost those rewards and earn XSD stablecoin by buying the NFT. And since you've minted, you would also be using the redeem screen, which is paying back the XSD to the system to get your collateral plus interest that is due. And as you get more familiar with the system, what we call power users, you would do that arbitrage capability that we talked about, which as the system matures, we will turn that on. You can add collateral for rewards. You can buy back excess collateral if you like, selling rewards into the liquidity pool, and then of course looping, which we touched on, and I'll talk more about that now. So looping without liquidation will be something that we turn on as the system matures also. And it's that idea of taking collateral and then creating the stable coin, earning interest, and continuing to do that process, sort of that loop, right? So in the example that we already talked about with that fractional minting, is the same sort of 60% Ethereum, 40% BankX. You've created 100% of BankX that's now earning the BankX tokens as reward or interest for minting. And then what you can do is take that XSD to buy the combination that you need, the 60-40, 60% Ethereum, 40% BankX, creating more XSD, which earns more interest, and then you can go and do that again. So that's where kind of like the looping definition goes. So this will be, again, very easy, where you would use the UI and enter the fields, and it would just sort of walk you through this whole process where you don't have to do each step. It would be done within the web app. So looping, I think, is very interesting when you think about the TVL of the system being tied to the XSD paid to NFT owners, right? So the NFT owners would be benefiting from a feature like looping, and it also would encourage them to go out and market the BankX system, because the NFT is really designed to build our marketing army. So that's why I sort of bring that all back into the discussion. And so looping does not create this Disneyland or fairy tale or even utopia, because there are things that would make it so you just can't loop endlessly. And so what would slow those down, right? So gas fees are all involved in this at each step of the way. How long does a transaction take? Depending on the depth of the liquidity pools on each chain, you could have slippage, which would potentially make it not profitable. If a lot of people do this, they're selling XSD to get the Ethereum, in this example, to go buy, say, BankX or to continue to go through that looping process. So if I keep selling XSD to get Ethereum, going through that process, it has the potential of taking XSD below the peg. And then what's the available liquidity for the tokens in our system? So those are all things that slow things down for looping. So it's not something you just keep doing it, right? So just to make that clear, right? And I wanted to touch on the user interface. We've shown you I've shown you some screens of what it looks like. There's a video, a UI instructional video where I go into in depth of how to use the BankX system. But one of the things that makes it very easy is the top cards right at the top of the web app, which tell you what's going on in the system and sort of this mini dashboard. It tells you what you would earn your most rewards in. And since we're below the peg, most rewards are to buy XSD. So you can actually click on this and it will take you to the screen and automatically set it up for you to buy XSD. It shows you the collateral ratio, and if the collateral ratio is in surplus, you can buy collateral. So that's what that means. And then when you just click on it, it takes you to buying the collateral back. Here is what's happening with the price of XSD versus silver. So you click on that and it'll set up what you need, whether it's buying or selling XSD. If it's below the peg, it shows you the discount. If it's above the peg, it'll show you the profit potential. So it's telling you what to do to buy there. And then it shows the BankX token state, if it's deflationary, inflationary. If it's inflationary, you'll start to see the longer pays better tick up by 5% up until 40%. And then anytime you see this at above 20%, so from 25% to 40%, means that the token's being burned in the liquidity pool also. So just sort of indication. And that makes BankX very easy to use within the top cards. So development plan as it stands now is a deployment on other chains. We'll release then the arbitrage feature, then release the looping feature as the system matures, and then we will begin development on BankX Treasury, which will give you the ability to lock up XSD for rewards. And so stay tuned for how that more features and how that works in the future. But that in general is our development plan. And so if you've watched this and now feel like you are an expert in BankX, we want to make sure that you join our community and help people to understand the system. So Telegram is one of our more active socials, Twitter also, and then YouTube for regular sort of live streams and Q&A and announcements and things like that. So that, everyone, was the BankX Masterclass, and I appreciate you joining. I know it was a lot of information, but I wanted to have a video where we could point people to when they say, well, how does this work? Or I don't understand how the system works. And we have an entire explanation of the system. Thank you very much.